We all know the story, right? Jason and his Argonauts on a quest for the Golden Fleece. It's one of those foundational myths of the ancient world. But the actual epic poem that tells this story, the Argonautica, is so much weirder and, honestly, more revolutionary than you'd ever guess. So let's get into it.
I mean, look at these elements. A hero's journey, a magical MacGuffin, a powerful and mysterious princess. These are the ingredients for epic fantasy. It has everything. It feels so timeless, you'd think it was cooked up in a lab to be a summer blockbuster.
Because here's the secret, the thing that makes the Argonautica so fascinating. In its own time, this poem was a massive act of rebellion. It was designed to break all the rules, to completely defy the literary tastes of the day, and to be a direct slap in the face to the most powerful critic of the age.
To really get why, you have to picture the scene. We're in the 3rd century BC, in Alexandria, Egypt. This is the intellectual center of the universe, the home of the great library. But it was also a time that was, well, kind of over the whole epic poem thing. The sprawling tales of Homer just weren't in style anymore.
Yeah, the trend back then was something we now call Alexandrianism. The literary elite, the tastemakers, they wanted poems that were short, incredibly clever, and just stuffed with learned, witty references. Think of it like this. They didn't want a sprawling 10-season TV show, they wanted a perfectly crafted, dense, 30-minute short film. Short and smart was in, long and epic was out.
And this whole debate wasn't just some stuffy academic argument. Oh no, it got personal. It was a full-blown feud between a teacher and a student. And this fight would end up shaping the entire literary world and giving us the Argonautica.
So, in one corner you've got Callimachus. He's the head librarian of Alexandria, the most influential poet of his day, the undisputed champion of that short, modern style. He's the master. And in the other corner, his own student, Apollonius of Rhodes, who had the gall to think the old-school Homeric epic could still be cool. It seems like Apollonius wrote his massive epic poem basically out of pure bravado.
And this quote from Callimachus tells you everything you need to know about the mood at the time. A great book is a great evil. So what does Apollonius do? He goes and writes a 4-book-long epic poem. It was a direct challenge to his teacher, and as you can probably guess, it did not go over well. His first draft was savaged, and he was pretty much forced to leave Alexandria in disgrace.
But here's the thing. Apollonius didn't just write a long poem. He wrote a completely different kind of epic. He basically rebuilt the entire genre from the inside out, and he started with the main character. This was not going to be another Achilles, not even close.
First, let's look at the structure. A Homeric epic is like a movie, a single, focused story driving toward one huge climax. The Argonautica is much more like a modern TV show. It's built as a series of almost standalone episodes. You've got the Island of the Lemnian Women episode, the boxing match with the king episode. Each part has its own little story arc, all loosely held together by the main sea voyage. And right in the middle of it all is Jason, who is a wonderfully unheroic hero. He is no godlike warrior. At one point, he gets so overwhelmed that he just sits down on a beach and cries, totally helpless, until his crew literally has to give him a pep talk to get him to continue the mission. He's indecisive, he constantly needs to be saved, and he really only succeeds because other people help him. He's a leader who wins, not with muscles, but with diplomacy, some help from the gods, and, as we're about to see, the help of one very, very powerful woman. And that right there brings us to the poem's real, honest-to-goodness innovation, because it wasn't the weird TV show structure or the anxious hero that made the Argonautica a true game-changer. It was the decision to put a deep, messy, psychologically realistic love story right at the very center of an epic poem, for the very first time. You see, the quest for the Golden Fleece, all the monsters, the long and dangerous journey, in a lot of ways, that's just the B-plot. It's the backdrop for the real story Apollonius was dying to tell.
The true voyage in the Argonautica, the most dangerous and compelling one, is the journey into the mind of Medea, the sorceress princess who falls completely, tragically, and destructively in love with Jason. And Apollonius gives us a front-row seat to her psychological unraveling. We watch step by step as this dutiful princess gets hit by a god-sent arrow of love and is just torn apart inside. She's caught in this impossible war between her duty to her family and this insane, overwhelming passion she feels for Jason. It is, without a doubt, the first deep dive into the psychology of a character in love in all of Western literature. Nothing like it had ever been written before.
So Apollonius writes this strange rule-breaking epic and basically gets run out of town for it. You'd think, okay, that's the end of the story, right? A failed experiment. But no, the Argonautica's journey was really just getting started. It was about to travel from Alexandria all the way to Rome and change everything.
So even though it was a flop with the Greek critics in Alexandria, a couple of centuries later, the poem found a whole new audience in Rome. The Roman poets were desperate to create their own national epic, and they looked to Alexandria for inspiration. And the biggest poet of them all, Virgil, well, he studied the Argonautica very, very closely.
So when Virgil needed to create one of the most famous characters in all of literature, Dido, the tragic queen of Carthage, who do you think he used as his model? Yup, Medea. Think about it, a powerful royal woman torn between her duty and a crazy, divinely sent passion for a foreign hero who ends up betraying everything for him. The inner conflict, the tragedy, the destructive power of love, it's all there. The DNA of Medea is all over Virgil's Dido.
So what's the big takeaway here? Why does this ancient poem matter so much? Because this supposedly failed epic actually did something incredible. It built the bridge between Greek and Roman literature. It basically invented psychological realism in storytelling, and maybe most importantly, it created the archetype of the complex, tragic heroine that we see over and over and over again, all the way down to the books and movies we love today.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? We always point to Homer as the beginning of everything. But maybe, just maybe, when it comes to the modern novel, with its deep dive into characters' minds, its flawed heroes, and its messy love stories, maybe the real ancestor is that rebellious student who dared to write a great book when everyone told him it was a great evil.
This is for entertainment and educational purposes only.